The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/theformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 177 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and it is now October of 2020, and we still don't have Metroid Prime on the Nintendo Switch. I'm your host, Logan.
I'm his co-host, Adam.
Dude, it's a bummer that we don't have Metroid on the Switch yet, but hey, 2020 isn't over yet. It could still happen. I'm still holding out hope. I'm like a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Ouch.
And, some people got that joke.
Ouch.
But hey, dude, new consoles this month.
But hey, we may not have Metroid, but you've got your Mass Effect trilogy coming. It's coming.
Sure. I'd rather have Metroid though.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's you're gonna be getting that, 4K potentially Mass Effect with some minor upgrading, I'm sure, but I'm not super excited about it. But I know a lot of people are. And so I think that's a good get. And I think Metroid is going to happen. Nintendo's just doing their own thing at their own pace.
That's true.
They don't like being tied to directs. They don't like being tied to COVID, requirements with all those different, virtual showcases. Eventually it's just going to all of a sudden it's going to be like, hey, next week Metroid Prime trilogy, and everyone's going to be like, what the heck?
I hope so.
It's going to happen.
So happy.
It is going to happen. I think some of it is what's probably happened is the Metroid 4, the fourth one or whatever, it's Metroid Prime 4 is getting probably pushed back, and they want to keep the trilogy closer to that. So as that's getting pushed back because of the pandemic, that's pushing back the trilogy.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
I think I saw that they were just now hiring some other people. I think they hired someone that worked on Doom or something in it. It was Doom and someone that worked on God of War for environments. And I'm like, this game's going to be super pretty, but we probably won't get it until
especially
the end of
with that Switch Pro.
That's true. Gosh, dude, what a time to be alive.
What a time.
What a time, man. What a weird time. Dear listeners, in case you don't know, we're recording on September 29th. This episode, we're recording it early just because getting ahead of the schedules and things of that nature. So we could be watching the debate tonight, but we thought, why not put our time to better use and record an episode of the podcast instead and talk about something way more exciting, which is the next-gen consoles. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't super enthused to do this episode, but now that I've dug deep into these consoles and saw the hardware and did some comparison videos and looked at some of the different things that these consoles are going to be able to do a little more in depth, I'm like, this is pretty legit. Like, these things are doing some bonkers things that, I don't know. It's nice to have something to look forward to and to chat about, and I think this is going to be a fun one for all of you as well. So if you are new to the show or you're new to next-gen gaming and you're curious about what these consoles are going to be about, maybe you're a curious parent that wants to know which one is the best for you and your family, this is the episode for you. And I don't know, maybe you just love talking about tech. There's a little bit of something for everybody in this episode here. But before we get into a little bit of housekeeping, like we always do, as always, check out the website. New content going up on the website pretty much every week. Every Thursday, there's a new retrospective diving deep into a retro video game. And then I'm trying to get an article out every Monday. So you guys have something, you guys have at least 2 things to check out on the website. Besides show notes for episodes every other week. Did post a article here recently talking about, can Christians play Dark Souls? And I think the answer might surprise you a little bit. And there's a few other articles that going up as well. I did one for Concrete Genie and Compassion. I'll talk a little bit more about that later after I talk about a new Platinum that I got. But I think you guys will definitely enjoy that. I got to say, the folks writing stuff on the website, myself excluded, knocking it out, man. Doing some great stuff. You got Micah covering news. You got Wesley doing the retrospectives and just about anything else he can think of. Tyler's working on a few other articles as well. Just it's a cool time to see the website kind of putting new content out there and just helping people out with their walk with Christ and their gaming hobby as well. In case, dear listeners, you are not involved in our Discord server, what's wrong with you? Hop in there, please. Link is in your show notes.
Co-host, you talking to the co-host? Get off my back, man. I'm busy.
I thought you were on there.
Keep up with Facebook. The Discord's too much for me. It's overwhelming.
Discord can be a little overwhelming. You might need to mute a few channels, dear listeners, but join in on the chaos. It's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. As always, you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheoloGan, which at the time of this recording, I am 6 follows away from 500. I just want to thank you guys for the support so far this year. Appreciate it. You guys are helping me grow a lot over there. It's been a blast. I'm not going to lie. It's been a blast getting in on Twitch, meeting some people, and making some friends along the way. So if you guys want to come over and hang out and talk about next-gen consoles, video games, or theology, twitch.tv/TheoloGan. I stream every Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then if you want to talk to me anywhere else, it's Discord. So there you go. As always, you can support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Support as low as $1 a month goes a long way in helping us keep the controller charged and my PC fed with energy and all that other stuff. If you guys want to support us over there, you can get early access to all of our episodes. So if you think words are hard now, wait until you hear the uncut version. And then you also get behind-the-scenes look at some of the stuff that we're doing. And patrons will get early access to our merch store once that goes live. So if you want a first shot at some of that sweet, sweet merch, winter's coming. It's fall season. You need a TRG hoodie.
Christmas gifts.
Blessing your grandma.
It's coming sooner than later.
Yep. We're going to hook you up. But anyway, patrons are going to get a first crack at that store there. And it's kind of like, how like back in the school days when you had the Scholastic Book Fair, there'd be that like one day of early access that the kids on the honor roll would get access to, and you'd like go in and pick your stuff out. It's a lot like,
man, that was the best.
Good times. It's a lot like that.
Is that what they called it? Man, I would never get books that you would read. I'd always get like the make your own bouncy ball kits.
Yes.
Like all the ridiculous stuff. Yes. It's like, I don't want to read this book. I want to make something cool. It was like an airplane book.
Yes, dude.
That and the bouncy ball kit. Like I probably bought 10 of the bouncy ball kits. Like, and they worked for about a couple days, and then they'd eventually fall apart.
Yeah.
But those were my jam.
Dude, you mentioned the airplane thing. I remember getting those. I would always get those, but they would always last maybe an hour because I would like break the wing on it or something trying to put it together or fix it or do whatever. Anyway, dear listeners, patreon.com. If you can't support us financially, totally get it. Totally understand. We do ask that you rate or review the show on your podcast app of choice because unfortunately, podcasts are that's how they work in their systems. They got to get the ratings and the reviews, and that's how they get moved around on the leaderboards and things of that nature. So go ahead and leave a rating and review of the show. And as soon as we start getting some more in, I think I'm going to start reading some of them on the air here, maybe towards the end of the episode or maybe at the beginning. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Without further ado, hello and welcome to the Reformed Gamers. Let's just get into the show like we always do with a little bit of what have we been playing. Adam, Brotato Chip, Burrito Supreme. What you been playing?
Yeah, so still dabbling a little bit in Fall Guys, still dabbling a little bit in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but life's just kind of busy over the last couple weeks, so I haven't been able to play those as much as I had been. I was really trying to get to level 40 on Fall Guys, but I'm just not going to make it by the end of this season, so that's a bummer. But I was kind of going for the platinum low key. Because it's not that hard if you can get to level 40 and if you can win 5. That's the hard one, is 5 straight. But I've come to the conclusion that I'm never going to win 5 straight, so why try for the platinum?
Do you want to know a trick to get that?
I know the trick. You know the trick? Okay. That means that you can win one and eventually win another one. And I can't do that anymore. That first weekend was prime, man. In the first 2 weeks, I won 14 times. I've won twice since then.
Gosh.
Everybody's too good at this point, and I don't play enough anymore. Anyways, I digress. I'm not here to talk about that. What I have been playing, though, I've been playing 2 things. I'm going to talk with the bottom one first. Among Us. So all the youths right now are playing Among Us, and I hadn't played it at all. And then we had some friends from Cedarville, some of my former students come in town, and we're like, oh, do we want to play board games? And then someone threw out this Among Us game, and I'm like, I've been wanting to try it. We should try it out. Mainly because I'm like, I'm too tired to teach y'all a board game right now. So especially Godspeed, because I'm like, I would love to show you guys this, but ain't nobody got time for that. It's gonna be a 4-hour game, and I'm already tired from hosting all day. So we started playing Among Us, and we played it for like 2.5 hours the first night. Then the next night we came back and played it for like 2 more hours. So needless to say, we've had a good time with it. Is it perfect? No. Is it Mafia in a video game in many ways? But I love the other, like the video game aspect of it, where everyone's paranoid. You're running around. You're just throwing out random. This guy did it, even though they didn't. It's been a lot of fun. Have you got to play very much, Logan?
I played it once on stream, and it's Mafia in a game format is probably the best description for that game that I've ever heard.
Yeah, like sabotage and stuff, and like just you fooled someone to think that you're not the imposter, and then you get hey, come with me to this room. I've got like one more task to finish. And then you get them in there, and you're like, yeah, and you like break their neck, and you're like, you just feel like it's so epic, and then you run off to somewhere else, jump an event, jump out. So I haven't played it since my friends left. I know some people in the Facebook group have been playing it, so hopefully I'll be able to jump in, or maybe even play with some of our staff. They've been doing it, like we did Jackbox at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I'm hoping to get them to jump on some Among Us. But it's a good time. It's worth checking out. It's free on the iPhone. So that's the main reason I got into it. I'm like, this is free just with some ads, no problem. So I've been playing. I played a decent amount of that this last week. But the main thing I've been playing is Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And really the main game in that I've been playing is Mario 64. I know some people are upset, oh, it didn't really get remastered. It didn't really get touched up. But, it's that Mario 64 goodness that I love. I don't mind I don't mind the camera. Sure, it would be nice if it was better, but I almost know how to play it better because of the wonky camera. I've got 61 stars right now, so nice. I'm working my way towards fighting Bowser. I think at 70 is maybe the last fight.
Yeah, it's 70.
And then you just go around and you clean up and collect all of them. So, but I've just been having, it's just good fun. I can get in, I can play for 5 minutes and get 2 or 3 stars, or I can sit there and play for, 20, 30 minutes and get a decent amount. The thing is, it's like, it's that one more. It's got that one more in me where, okay, what's the next one? Let me just see what I want to jump in the map and just see what the next star is. If it's collect the 8 red ones, I'm like, okay, I might quit. But if it's another one, I'm like, well, let's just go see if we can't explore real quick and catch it. Like, I wish I could remember the name of some of the maps. Are like, I just love. I love the lava map when you're in like the dungeon area, like the underground like water area. I can't remember what
that one's called.
That's one of my favorites. I love the sand level that's nearby it, with the pyramid. That's a great level. One of the later levels that I really love is it's like you climb the mountain. You've got the different mushrooms all throughout the level, and you've got the shortcut where you can go towards the mushroom and you can kind of jump over to the side. Do you know that shortcut?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah. So you run. So when you start, if you, it's the one with the monkey, you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So if you turn around immediately and you go towards the corner, there's a free extra life there. There's a green mushroom there. If you just keep running and dive, there's a wind breeze that will take you all the way up, like halfway up the mountain. So it's like a shortcut.
What?
Oh, yeah, man. These are some of the hacks that just, you don't think about them, but they come back to you as soon as you're playing. You're like, oh, I remember this is there. I remember this is there. Like some of the different levels, just a lot of the different shortcuts. Like if you stand up against this wall, it's going to warp you somewhere else on that level. All those little shortcuts just make the game, it's just delightful. It's a delightful game. We were talking about it in the pre-show. I'm like, this game is just, can you imagine? You said 24 years ago the 64 launched in the US. Can you imagine 24 years ago playing Mario 64 for the first time, coming off the Super Nintendo? My mind might have exploded. I remember playing it for the first time. It wasn't like it launched or anything like that. But man, what a time that would have been, a time to be alive, where you play Mario 64 when it first comes out and you're like, this is, how can it get any better than this? Now it has, but that game, it holds up. The camera again is jank as all jank, but man, that for me, that's just a nostalgia. I've been just like on a nostalgia kick. Now I played a little bit. Actually, I haven't started up Sunshine yet because I jumped into Galaxy. Galaxy looks great. The controls aren't too bad. Sometimes the camera even in it gets a little bit wonky because of the way that the controller is set up with the Pro controller. But I'm having a good time with it. I think you've been playing some of it too. What are your thoughts on the Super Mario 3D All Stars?
Yeah, man, I'm always nervous to talk about this because I feel like I'm like a little overly negative on Super Mario 64. Because I tweet, and I need to be careful because I tweeted this out and got a lot of heat for saying this. But I said that Super Mario 64 is nigh unplayable in 2020. And to put it into perspective for some of our dear listeners, I've never really played Super Mario 64 before this. Like I've had friends who have had it, and I would go over to their house and play the first level in Bob-omb Battlefield. But that was the extent of my time with Super Mario 64. If I've played anything else beyond that, I don't really remember it. It's the only thing I really remember from this game growing up was playing that level again and again and again. And so this is my first real playthrough of it. And man, there's moments where I was really, as the kids would say, vibing with the game and really enjoying it, especially when you do, like, I can't remember what level it is. It's the third or fourth one. And you're going through, you go up this ramp, you go up another ramp, and then there's these like 3 walls with faces that come out. Like learning a jumping combo to go over those, collect the red coin, make it across the shifting platforms, and make it over to where that rock thwomp thing keeps coming down. It's when you get into this flow of going through the level and you're jumping and diving and wall jumping and stuff, it feels cool. Like you feel like Neo in the Matrix where you're like, I know Kung Fu, but it's like, it's really, really cool. And then there's moments where you get to a level and you're trying to do really precise platforming or something like that, and the camera just messes with you. And you're like, what in the world, man? There was several times that I had to fight the camera while platforming, and I was just like,
oh yeah,
man, I hate this. I hate this so much.
That's why I'm scared to get back into Mario Sunshine, because I quit it on the GameCube because the camera was frustrating me on a couple levels.
Yeah,
but I'll probably give it more of a run on the Switch. But there's no doubt there's multiple levels. There was one I was trying to get a star on the maze map, and you jump up and you're like on this, you're climbing on a rail, like you're hanging from it, and you're trying to, like, because you can fall off if you don't like connect right, you'll fall down, but you can't really control the camera and your person at the same time. So you're just doing the best. You're going like super slow, just trying to do your best. But yeah,
there was one video I did of, this was on Cool Mountain, I think. It's one of the last stars you get on there, because I did a similar approach to yours, almost unintentionally. I was going to go through and just jump in between different levels and get what stars I could, but I found my OCD kicking in, and so I would be getting all the stars on every level before progressing to the next one. And that was another thing where, like, the star thing that I'm thinking of, or the one that I'm thinking of, is you go behind this mountain, you wall jump onto a ramp, and then you got to do a triple jump to get high enough to the other wall, and you wall jump off that onto a platform. And there's this really thin iceway leading into this platform where the star is. And I tweeted this out on the TRG Twitter account. You guys can go check it out. I think I did a caption of like running into the weekend or something like, and then the video's there. But I'm so conflicted on it, because there's times when I played that game that I genuinely hated playing it. And it's like I said in the last episode, I would much rather have played Cuphead than play that during whatever times I was experiencing. But like, there's moments where you pull off these cool tricks and you're like, you feel really good. It feels really good. But I will say though that the worst levels are some of the way later ones, like that clock tower one. hated that. The rainbow one with the carpet, hated it. Like,
yeah, the ones where you're stuck on the rainbow carpets and stuff because you're like
brutal.
It can be really, those ones can be really tough with the camera.
Yeah.
Did you know the trick with the clock tower, how you can freeze the level?
What the dude? Why did I not talk to you about this?
No, the hacks. If you jump in when the second hand is on I don't know, I guess it'd be minute hand. When the minute hand is on the 12, it'll freeze the whole level and nothing moves.
What?
Yeah.
Bruh. I'm about to jump back into this game and try some of these out. See, that's the other thing that's funny about what I said on Twitter. I was like, man, this game's nigh unplayable. And then here I was like a day later, like, I got 32 stars now. Look at me go. I was like, I had my flippy floppies. Anyway, all that to say, like, I beat the game. I reached the end and finished it. And I was glad that I finished it. And it felt like a good achievement that I had finished Super Mario 64, let alone even played it. But I don't know. It's the thing of like, I've noticed just from seeing other people's reactions to it that I can say your mileage may vary if you play it. There's going to be people who really love it and really enjoy it. And there's people like me who are just going to struggle through it and just be like, am I really this bad at video games? Have I been this bad at video games the entire time? But it is what it is. I'm playing Super Mario Sunshine now because I've moved on from Super Mario 64 now that I've beaten it. And I'm enjoying that. I really am digging that a lot. I'm kicking myself for spending $80 on an actual copy on the GameCube a couple months ago. I wish I would have known that this was coming to the Switch. But I'm enjoying it. It's cool. I like Flood. I will say that I'm starting to see some of the gripes that people have because I've read online that the levels where you get Flood taken away and you have to just rely on pure Mario platforming, they're unforgiving. And the two that I've played so far are really challenging. And I'm just like, man, is it supposed to be this way? And I played like an hour of Galaxy and it was fine. I'll put more into it once I finish Sunshine. I want to go in order and finish the games. I will say this though, just me playing these games just make me want to play Super Mario Odyssey because I loved that game. The game was amazing. And so,
it doesn't give me that feel as much as I liked Odyssey. Like, I don't ever feel a draw to come back to Odyssey, if I'm being honest. Like,
really?
I think it's something about the small. In Odyssey, the levels weren't huge either. So Odyssey was great. I have no bad, but it doesn't have the nostalgia I think that Mario 64 brings out of me. Mm-hmm. And so, I'll get the next Mario 3D, like whatever Mario Odyssey 2 is, like, and I'll be excited about it. But those games aren't really ones that will keep me coming back because I don't have so many memories attached to them. Like, especially like there's just, I feel like you can find a dime a dozen of some of these platformers nowadays, but the ones that draw me back are the ones that have the great memories attached to them. So I can keep coming back to Mario 64. I'll come back to that and even like Sunshine and some of even the original Nintendo ones, Super Nintendo ones, probably a lot quicker than I would even Mario Galaxy, which I have access to pretty easy. It's just weird. It's just weird how that works for me, but yeah. But yeah, that's not to say anything bad about Galaxy. Galaxy was great. Or for not sure. Galaxy. What am I? Odyssey.
Sunshine? Oh, Odyssey.
That's not to say anything bad about Odyssey. Odyssey was great, but there's just something special about some of those old games for us all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that's why I might, kind of speaking to that nostalgia thing a little bit real quick, I think that's why I might prefer the 2D Marios a little bit more than the 3D ones, because I grew up, like, I cut my gaming teeth on Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 growing up. And that's just, I don't know, that just might be ingrained into my my gamer brain. But yeah, I think it's kind of like what you said. I know people were kind of griping that it didn't get remastered or whatever complaints are out there. But when you break down the value factor of it, these games are basically $20 a pop in this collection with the soundtracks, and they're not that cheap standalone. So,
well, the funny thing is, as soon as I played Odyssey, as soon as I got the Mario 64 skin in Odyssey, I put it on, and I don't think I changed it. I ran through that whole game looking like Mario 64.
That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, that's Super Mario 3D All-Stars. I guess I'll just transition into the rest of what I've been playing. Then finished Outer Worlds, finally finished that. Really funny game. My review is up on the GG app if you guys want to go check it out. Overall, it's fine. I enjoyed it this time around, just kind of doing whatever I want and being chaotic or just chill. It just depends on my mood. And I think because I kind of feel like I breezed through it a little too fast. I finished the game in about 12 hours is how short the story is if you just really kind of hunker down and focus on it. But I want to go back and do some of the side quests, complete some of the companion quests, and just see kind of what all there is to the game that I may have missed. And I already bought the DLC, the Perils of Gorgon, I think it's what it's called. So I'm excited to get into that and just kind of spend more time in that world. I think my favorite thing about that game is the writing in it, because it's so bonkers that I love it. There's one mission where you're sneaking into this enemy facility in this, because it's run by this corporation, they have these really weird policies that you can use to kind of mess with people. Anyway, all this is like, as you're sneaking into the facility, I was sneaking in, and your shroud is what it's called, that gives you a disguise, has a timer on it. And so when that ran out, one of the guards approached me and was like, "Hey, I don't recognize you. Are you new here?" And you have 3 options you could choose from. And one of the options was, are you talking on the job? And I was like, I'm going to pick this. This sounds awesome. And I selected it, and the guy just starts panicking. He's like, "Oh, please don't tell anyone. I won't do it again." And I'm just like, why is this a thing in this world? It's so random and so goofy, but I laughed for probably a good 5 minutes or so, just because I didn't expect it. It was this kind of serious situation, and have this random moment thrown at you was just hilarious. So Outer Worlds is a funny game. I enjoyed my time with it. I think if Obsidian makes an Outer Worlds 2, it's going to be better than... I think Outer Worlds is already better than Fallout 3 and 4. I really enjoyed it that much. And I think if they put an Outer Worlds 2 out, it's really going to give Bethesda a run for their money. But with Microsoft buying Bethesda and them owning Obsidian, we're probably going to get a Fallout New Vegas 2 faster than we will an Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, I've got it. If I need to get my PlayStation back up into my bedroom, and I'm probably going to take a little hiatus from Tony Hawk. And that's the next game. Like, I'm not buying any new games until the next generation. Mm-hmm. And that's like the last, you sent it to me when you sent me a couple games last time. That's like the one game I haven't got to yet that I own physically that I need to get around to. So hopefully by the next time we record, or for sure by the end of this generation, I'll have played that some. And I'm glad it doesn't sound like it's a super long game.
Yeah, no. I think I probably could have finished it in under 10 hours if I didn't really do any of the side stuff.
And I'll do some side stuff. I won't just straight mainline it. I always do some. So for me, it'd probably be a 12 to 15 hour game, which still sounds not bad. Yeah,
it's definitely a nice breath of fresh air, especially in the time of like where it seems like every game takes 20 plus hours to beat. And so it's pretty nice. Speaking of games that are relatively short, also finished Concrete Genie. Finally got the platinum trophy for it. Really was surprised by this game. I did not think it would be as good as what it is, but it's got a very good story, very cool cast of characters. The story is very heartfelt, very charming, one that I could relate to in a few different ways, both as a little bit of a loner creative type when I was growing up, but also as a youth pastor and understanding kind of why people act the way they do. If you guys want to know more about that, you guys can go to the website and check out my Concrete Genie and Compassion article. Talked a little more in depth about the game and some of the things that you encounter in it. Really cool game. If you guys are looking for something new to play on your PlayStation 4, something a little bit different than maybe what you normally play, I would highly recommend it. I think it's a really good game that kind of went under the radar on a lot of people's kind of watch lists and things like that. It's a really cool game. Really enjoyed it. So as far as what have we been reading, man, let's transition into that. What have you been getting into?
Yeah, so been going through this Our Daily Bread recently, and I haven't been going through a commentary or some of the deep study that I had been for a long time, and I just don't know. I just haven't been in that space lately. So But one of the books that I've been reading, we're reading it for our pastor. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, Loving Your Community by Stephen Byers. It's been really challenging for us as a group of pastors. Just it's a church out in Lafayette, Indiana, and they have like a big counseling ministry. They're the ones that started the ACBC counseling ministry, if you're familiar with that, like biblical counseling stuff. And I mean, it's a pretty big church, but so the pastor that wrote this book, and it just challenges a lot of different things, like using your building, allowing the community to use your building, just evaluating your different ministries, and just a lot of different good things. But on one of the chapters on a biblical foundation for community-based ministry, they're talking about all these different things that you need to do in order to do some of this. And one of them was the subheadings was avoiding needless controversies. It says Titus is told to remind Christians to malign no one and to avoid foolish controversies. Cable news outlets and social media seem to love nothing better than to provide a daily dose of controversies and opportunities to malign those with whom we disagree. Can I get an amen? If followers of Christ are not careful, we can become so agitated about the latest community argument that our love and concern for others grows cold. In a culture like Crete, where admittedly many were liars, evil beasts, lazy gluttons, Titus and his church members could have selected a new argument each day and every day, but they would have distanced themselves from the people in their community instead of loving them. They would have lost the power of your community. And so just the book has been a really breath of fresh air for us. It's challenging. It's getting us thinking about some different things. Yes, there are some things that right now, because of everything going on, we can't do them, but we can earmark them. We can begin to say, okay, we can't do what we want to do, but we can do something in regards to our community and outreach. And so, I haven't finished it, but it would definitely be a good reco for anyone just looking at some community-based outreach ministry and things like that. It's just a really good book, I think, for leadership, because it gets you asking some different questions and asking them different ways. And why do we do what we do? Do we need to change things? And so it's been a fun read so far.
I'll have to add that to my Kindle wish list, because that's something that me and my pastor are kind of not weighing, but thinking through as we're starting to regather in different capacities. We actually are reading the Post-Quarantine Church by Tom Rayner. And you talking about, using your facilities for different means and things like that was something he had brought up in the first chapter. And that's something that we're thinking through, as well as digital ministry and a few other things. I'm going to finish the book this week, and then me and him are going to talk about it, but that's good. I'll have to bring that one up and we'll read through that together. It's an exciting time for those of us in ministry, because it's almost like we get to hit reset on a couple of different things and get creative with other things. But at the same time, it's like, man, there's a lot of work to be done. So we will definitely be busy over the next few weeks. But the one thing I will talk about, I started reading, I think I brought it up last episode, going through Philippians 4:6. Maybe I didn't bring it up and I'm remembering something else. But I started reading Philippians, just trying to read a chapter a day, which, I mean, there's only 4 chapters, so it's going to be done pretty quick if I stick with it. And I was reading it, and I don't know, man. It's weird how you revisit a book you've read several times, whether it was years ago or maybe even a month ago, and it still just surprises you in a few ways. Like, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me, and this is one that I know this verse, I have this verse memorized, but reading it again kind of stopped me in my tracks. And it was Philippians 1 verse 6 that says, "And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to the completion at the day of Jesus Christ." And it's just one of those things where, for me, just to be transparent on the podcast, like I normally am, I've been struggling a lot with ministry. Like, should I even continue to be a youth pastor? Am I still really cut out for it? Should I be doing something else and get out of the way and let someone else do this? It will be more effective. But I keep it's been a point of struggle for me, but going to this verse and reading it again, I'm like, God ain't done yet. I'm still here. You know, I think of this comic strip of Batman when he's talking about how, you know, why, like how the villains are always like, you're going to die, Batman, or something. And he goes through this long spiel of like how he's getting so sick and tired of hearing again and again how, you know, this is where Batman dies and stuff. And he's like, and you know what? I'm still here. And it's just, it recalled that to my mind. And I was looking at just kind of this past year and how really rough it's been for me, and not only me, but other youth pastors as well. We've all struggled quite a bit over this year, just in the conversations I've had with other youth pastors, and we're still here. And if we're still here for a reason. And if we're still here for a reason, obviously that reason is what God called us here for. And so that means there's still work to be done. And so it was a really good, encouraging verse. Not saying that I'm going to be able to remember this every single day. So some of you guys listening will have to remind me of this, because I'm sure there's going to be, I'm sure probably the day after we record this, I'm going to forget this and go back to struggling again. But it was a good reminder, and hopefully that's a good reminder for some of you out there who are working in ministry to persevere, to remember that God's not done with you and your ministry yet. And God is most certainly not done with you. And so hopefully that's a good encouragement. And again, probably going to forget this the day after we record this, so you might have to remind me of it on Twitter or something. So hopefully that's a good encouragement to you. But that's Philippians 1:6. Oh, man. Speaking of encouraging things, I'd like to encourage you guys to rate and review the show on iTunes. But I'd also like to encourage us by talking about next gen, dude. It's finally here. It's finally here. It's finally here. And to be honest, looking at the way that next gen is shaping up, this next gen, I've said this multiple times in the Facebook group, this next gen is going to be fun. It's going to be a little quirky because both platforms are doing two completely different approaches, but it's going to be fun, guys. So what we're going to kind of do the rest of the episode is just break down the different systems, the hardware, the prices, kind of what we're looking forward to, and things of that nature, and hopefully give you guys some clarity in case you have questions about, you know, which system you should get or what exactly the prices is or things like that. Again, if you have a friend or you know a parent in your church or something that is trying to figure this stuff out, share this episode with them, and hopefully we can help them out with that as well. But I want to start here because we didn't really do that in the last episode. I kind of just brought it up and then spoiled it and didn't go into it, but we didn't get your take, Adam. Pre-orders, man. Let's talk about that hoopla for a quick second, because hot diggity, was that something else or was that something else, man? Did you get one pre-ordered?
Mess, man. I'm telling you, Amazon did it right both times. You know what Amazon did? Amazon let the crazy happen for PlayStation. They let it go on for most of the night. So when Walmart broke the chaos for PlayStation, it was like you didn't know what was happening over the next, couple hours. But Amazon just sat back and they waited and they waited and they let the craziness just ensue. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're live. And now they sold out just as quick as everyone. But you know what you don't hear? You don't hear a bunch of people complaining about Amazon anywhere. You hear them talk about Target, Best Buy, Microsoft store. I mean, Microsoft was
nuts from what I was hearing.
You know what? Let me just say this. This is a whole different conversation with Bethesda or whatever it's called. So they talk about exclusives. Phil Spencer running his... What did I tell you a few months ago? I said Phil Spencer running his mouth talking about exclusives. Put your money where his mouth is. And then he goes out and buys Bethesda. If those games aren't across multi-platforms... We'll see. Maybe they will be, but what a joke. Don't sit here and tell me you care about, exclusives shouldn't be a thing. And then you go out and buy Bethesda and potentially take a whole bunch of exclusives. And I'm fine with it. Again, exclusives is what it is. My beef is with him running his mouth. Anyways, that's off topic. Back to pre-orders.
Off topic.
Back to pre-orders. I don't know how I got there, but I got there from it's because Microsoft was running their mouths about PlayStation's pre-orders being bad, and then theirs were just as bad. We knew, like, the thing with Microsoft is we could schedule when they were going to be bad. They're like, hey, we're going to do them at 11, so chaos can ensue at 11. PlayStations were bad, and it was just you didn't know how, when the bad was going to hit. But I did get pre-orders in. I got them for PlayStation and Xbox. I am getting an S, and so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, it was madness. It was madness just trying to get in there. And when you got one, like, I haven't got nervous like that in a long time. I'm like, it's like a 10:45 when Xbox is about to go live. I'm like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. I gotta get situated and I was even nervous going to the bathroom 15 minutes before because I'm like, what if somebody goes early? But I was like legit nervous, and I haven't been like, I wasn't so nervous about PlayStation because it just happened out of nowhere. But with the Microsoft one, I was legit like butterflies in my stomach. It was crazy.
That's wild, dude. That's wild. Yeah, in case you guys didn't listen to the last episode, I did get a Series S pre-ordered, mainly through a fluke, through a friend, Steven actually, ordered one by accident and was like, well, do you want it? And I'm like, yes, please, and thank you. I would love that. Thank you so much. So he's hooking me up with the one that he accidentally ordered. He was trying to get the X, and then I don't remember exactly like how it happened, but he was trying to get the X and got an S. Anyway, so I have a S on the way coming later this month. Wait, is it October or November these things are coming out?
It's not. We still got a minute. It's November.
Oh, I thought it was this month.
I wish, but we still got over a month, which is, I mean, it's not that long, but it still feels like a long time now that pre-orders are finally like come and gone.
Well, that gives me an extra month to get hyped then. But anyway, so I've got one coming. I didn't really, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't super, what's the word? Like, I wasn't trying to get a PS5, like, because I knew pre-orders were just going to be nuts. And then I heard that all these retailers were letting their pre-orders go live early. And I was just like, okay, this sounds like a mess. I don't really want to bother with it, but I'm still going to try anyway, just to see if I can do it. Couldn't get it on Amazon because by the time I got there, they were all sold out. And then I think I looked at GameStop, and GameStop did this weird thing where, like, you were going to the website and it would put you in a queue. Like, you would just put you at the screen saying, hey, we're excited for this console too, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is this doing this to everybody? Because what if someone's just going in to buy like a controller or,
and what I ended up hearing is they were like, what they were doing is all it was doing, the code was auto refreshing every 30 seconds instead of people refreshing every like 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even really a queue. They were just trying to limit the refresh rate.
Oh, that's what that was. Huh. Weird. Yeah, man, it was weird. Needless to say, I walked away and didn't get one. And I'm really not stressing out about it. It's one of those things where it's like, if I get one, I get one. It is what it is. But at the same time, I don't really see a need to get one right away. Because I thought I would
say you don't need an S. If we're talking about something you don't need, you got a PC, brother, and you don't need an Xbox Series S. You need a PlayStation 4 if we're talking about something that you need, because you're missing out on those fresh exclusives.
Well, see, it's funny you bring this up because we had this conversation over text, and I forgot to post it somewhere on Instagram or whatever. And the reason why I want a Series S is to put it in my living room, so there's a console in there. And then I brought that up to you, and you're like, well, why don't you just put your PC in there? I'm like, I can't connect it to the TV.
And this was a whole conversation that we had I think it was maybe in the Facebook group. I don't think it was actually on the podcast, where I'm like, but I want to, my wife's not going to let me keep my PC in my living room. And you're like, everyone's like, there's a Steam link. You can get all these things and play it in your living room. And then Logan sitting here telling me he's buying an S because he can't plug his PC into his TV in his living room. I'm like, this is like the most perfect conversation ever.
It is. And then
I typed in Ghost of Tsushima just to really make it perfect.
It's so on brand for us, man. It was awesome. But no, like it's funny because I said that, now I'm thinking about it and was thinking through like where I was going to put it in position and everything. I'm like, this is the same problem I had when I tried to put my PS4 Pro in there when we moved into this house, is there's really no good place for it. So maybe this Xbox will just inevitably wind up next to my PC.
I mean, we'll get into the specs, but I'm a little nervous about the beefiness of this PlayStation 5.
Yeah, you and me both. But I'll round out this section with this. Is like, I'm not super nervous about getting one of these consoles right away. Like, I'm glad that I have a Series S on the way. I'm looking forward to having that. And plus, it'll be nice to have a game or have a system in place to where if me and my wife want to play a game, but they don't have local screen co-op, but they have the online thing, we'll be able to play because I can play on PC and she can play on Xbox. And I don't know, maybe I'll get her into Destiny or something. We'll see. But there's that. And so, like I said, I don't mean to brag, but if I want a PS5 real bad, I have ways of getting one. Nothing illegal. I've just made very good friends with some of the managers of the local stores that sell them. And so while they won't hold one for me because they are above reproach and integrity, they will definitely holler at your boy and let me know when they get some stuff in. So, but like I said, I don't really see a need to get because I thought you would need a PS5 to play Spider-Man, and that was my big thing. I was like, I want to play Spider-Man, but then they said it's going to be on PS4, and I'm like, well, all right, that kind of helps with my anxiety a little bit, so I don't feel like I need to rush out and get one right away. But
well, let's get into this real quick before we get into even some of the specs. That last PlayStation event where they announced the price, man, PlayStation, when they've done their conferences or whatever you want to call them, showcases, they've been flexing hard with some of their games. Like Demon Souls being a launch title, Ratchet and Clank being a launch title, Miles Morales. Well, I don't know if Ratchet's launch window. I don't know if it's a launch game. I think it's launch window. But like that whole conference, Final Fantasy 16 being console exclusive.
That was dope.
They just did. I mean, it was a ball. I mean, Deathloop, who Bethesda just getting bought out by Microsoft, but is still currently console exclusive, at least for a while. That game looks great. I mean, that conference was well done. Now, again, they did a crappy job at talking about the specifics of release dates, even for games. They didn't really mention them everything was coming out after, which was just wild. Like, Jeff Knightley was announcing all of the information on pre-orders and game information. It was kind of crazy how some of that stuff, but the actual game stuff looked just, it was an amazing showcase. I think they've just done a really good job with all of their conferences, I can't keep going, conferences, showcases, or whatever you want to call them. And so it is definitely a fun time, but and this kind of goes into a little bit of some stuff we'll probably talk later. Just there are definitely two different approaches. Now, we thought it was going to be more drastic than it is, but again, with Bethesda being bought out by Microsoft, maybe the approaches aren't quite as radical as we thought they were going to be, but they definitely have different approaches to how they're going into next gen. But man, that was a fun conference to lead into again, another just hype thing. It's like we're waiting around, and then it's like it's finally here. We've been waiting for the release date and the price confirmation of the system for, it feels like forever. And then the day, it was almost like Christmas. It felt like an E3 moment, We're like, oh, we're so excited for this conference because we're going to get some exciting stuff. And then we finally get it, and then all heck breaks loose with pre-order stuff. It was a wild time to be alive the day of that conference.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to coach Upward Soccer, and I'm refreshing my phone on Twitter because I'm like, what if the pre-orders go live? I'm like, I'm about to walk off the soccer field to pre-order a PlayStation 5 if they go live while I'm at Upward Soccer practice.
That's funny. I could see you doing that. I could see you screaming once you got a pre-order and go, and none of the kids did anything.
I gotta go to the bathroom for 15 minutes. I'll be right back.
Isn't that a typical thing that we guys do when we have phones?
For real, though.
Or especially a Switch, actually.
Especially when you got kids. Hannah's like, this is a total side. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'm sitting in there for 15 minutes. She's like, are you still going to the bathroom? I'm like, no. She's like, well, get out of here and help me with the kids. I'm like, okay, I'm coming.
You're like, I need some me time.
I never got it. I used to give my brother-in-law and my brother a hard time about that. I'm like, I'm business. I go in the bathroom and I get out. I'm like, how do you guys sit in there? Because they would be in there forever. They had like their Game Boys and stuff in there. But I get it. Now that I have kids, I totally get it. It's like a moment of respite.
Oh man, that just reminds me of so many parenting TikToks I've seen, and it's like
I'm going off all kinds of rabbit trails today. I'll tell you what.
Hey, I love it. We're just giving our listeners the extra value, right? We're giving you guys some extra value. Speaking of extra value and things that I think have nothing to do with it, although actually they have a lot to do with it, because we've talked about this a little bit here and there. We touched on this a little bit kind of in a teasing fashion. The two different approaches that these consoles are taking this generation has never been quite as drastic as they've been. And I don't know if drastic is the right word, but they're so different that it's unseen before. It's unheard of, right? And I was looking this up, trying to get some notes together for this episode, and you see it between the two, especially when you look into it. You see that PlayStation is still doing what they do best, and that's provide a platform where you're going to get great first-party exclusives. I didn't know Demon's Souls was going to be a launch title until you'd mentioned that, and I looked it up on Twitter just now. I was like, dang it, now I do need a PS5 at launch. But so you see that, and so you see that they're still doing really what helped them climb to the top of this past generation was give you really good first-party exclusives. Xbox is taking a vastly different approach to where now it's like you don't even really need an Xbox to play Xbox games.
True.
You have Game Pass, which you can play on an Xbox or PC. They have xCloud, which you can play on your Android devices, and I think iOS devices once they put an update out on the Xbox app that lets you do remote players. I haven't really looked into it that much, but it seems like Xbox just what they want to do is provide a more service approach rather than a platform approach. And so they let you basically play just about anywhere. And we've seen them do this with the Nintendo Switch. They've ported Cuphead, both Ori games to the Switch. Minecraft has Xbox Live connection to it. And so I think we're going to see more and more of that this next generation of Xbox just trying to get the games out on the platforms where you can play it regardless of what you have. And you know, hopefully with the acquisition of Bethesda and Obsidian and all their other platforms, you know, maybe they'll continue to do that, because it just seems like Xbox is just making these moves where it's like, we don't really care how you play or where you play our games, just enjoy them, it seems like. And so it's weird, but at the same time, it's kind of brilliant because it just lets you have access. I guess it's more accessible in that regard.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
What I think about the different generational approaches is, I mean, you see it even in the price points. Sony is playing the traditional game. They see this as a generation. They're seeing this as things that now, this is maybe to their detriment. This isn't necessarily a positive, but they're like, in every other generation, you didn't get to use your old controller, so why do you think you should be able to use the DualShock 4 on a PlayStation 5? You know, they were very distinct. You know, they're doing some with the games, you know, even with PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, you had some games that were released on both. So there's a precedent there, but they're very much approaching this as this is a new generation. This is a new time. You know, you're not entitled per se. And maybe that's not the right word, but there's a level of that we get with gamers that, and I'm a part of that. So I'll put myself in that of, I deserve this because Xbox has done that, or other companies have done this, but we're not entitled to that. I mean, if anything, those are anomalies. Well, Xbox, and this goes into the Xbox approach, theirs is very much an anomaly of, we're changing the game completely. We're not playing the old school game anymore. While Sony is saying, we're still doing that. This is how we do it. If you don't like it, then we're sorry, but this is just how we do console generations. It's pretty firm, pretty a hard line. But then you've got Microsoft who's saying everything's out the window. You know, we're trying to be very, and I don't like saying gamer focused because that's assuming that PlayStation's not. They're just doing it differently. They're not saying that we're gonna, like Xbox is saying you can use your old controllers from this generation. You've got backwards compatibility. Things you're gonna get some of these free upgrades and things like that. We want to make as many games accessible as possible. A lot of those things, I think it's a very good approach. And you see that even with the $299 price. Like that's a great entry point for someone like myself. I don't want to spend $500 on an X, but I'd like to try out Game Pass. Game Pass has great value, and I'm intrigued by that. And so their approach to saying, let's find a lower point of entry that you can play next gen games. It doesn't have to be 4K. We're going to make some ways to make that possible by giving up some different what's the word I'm looking for? My mind's not working. We're going to cut some of the different things that make the X so awesome with the 4K and some of the different power, but it's going to be at a point where you can still play next gen games. I think it's a great time, like we've been saying, for gamers. I like the different approach. Again, I think we see with the Bethesda acquisition, they're still playing that game. As much as Microsoft is wanting to do a lot of different things, they want subscriptions. They want you to have the Game Pass. They want you in the ecosystem of xCloud, which is awesome. I hope it eventually comes to the Apple devices. Like they're doing a lot of things really well, so much that I'm getting an S as long as it arrives at my door. And so they're doing a lot of things right, but it's very interesting seeing the approaches and how that's gonna push things forward, how it might draw different battle lines. But it's a really exciting time to be a gamer with all the different games. I wish I was a 13-year-old kid, honestly, with life. And like, again, playing Mario 64 when I was, how old am I now? I'm 34. When I was 10 years old was a great thing. But to be living in this time and day and age, no responsibility, no job. Most kids don't even have to go to school right now, other than online, and just get to sit around. I mean, you can't really go hang out with your friends in some cases because of the pandemic. So I get permission to stay home and play video games. Wow, man, I don't want it forever, but I could enjoy that for a couple months.
You got to redeem that time, right? You got to redeem it while you got it. So I hear what you're saying. That's been one thing. I'm not going to chase that rabbit trail. We've done that before. I was just thinking about how like I don't have enough time to play these games that I want to play, but that's the thing, man. As we kind of transition over into the hardware side of things and kind of what they're doing with these systems, I mean that's the thing that you look at is sort of the value proposition of. It's not so much about the hardware, so to speak, because when you look at the hardware between these two systems, at least between the X and the PlayStation 5, they're roughly the same. The X comes out a little bit in terms of speed, but I think we'll see more of kind of how each system kind of handles that when the multi-platform games come out and kind of what each one does maybe a little bit differently or maybe exactly the same. We'll know more once these systems are out. But what's interesting is how I just lost what I was going to say. So let me talk about the price points real quick in case you guys haven't seen those. The price points, let's start with Xbox. Okay, so the price point for the Xbox systems, again, I hate how we're going to talk about these systems because I think Series X and Series S are just bad naming conventions, but that's for another day. So the Series X is the top of the line, like powerhouse system coming in at $499 US, right? I don't know what they are in the different countries, but you guys can write in and let me know what they are in your country. And the Series S, which is the slightly less powerful one, but still pretty powerful, is coming in at $299, which is insane. Super, what's the word? Budget friendly, I guess, maybe to a degree. I mean, it's. I was not expecting it to be that cheap, but then you have the PlayStation 5, and that's where I was going to go with the hardware. Okay, let me finish up the price point so I'm not like all over the place. So the price points for the PlayStation 5 for the full version, and what I mean by full version is you get your disc drive, is $499. So same price as the X, roughly the same hardware. Again, the X is a little bit faster, but beyond that, we don't know how the systems are going to handle multi-platform games. So That's all I'm going to say. And then PlayStation 5 will have a disc-less version called the Digital Edition that is going to be $399. So it's $100 more than the Xbox Series S, but you're getting all of the power of a PS5. It's just digital, so you can download the console and have it on your... Sorry, me and my wife were making that joke when we were talking about it weeks ago. But so you have that. So it really just kind of depends on what you want. And the nice thing going into the hardware side of things, because we've mentioned this a little bit, the Xbox Series S, the reason why it's so cheap is, one, because it's a digital console as well. It is a small box. I'm going to link to Marques Brownlee's comparison video because it's wild to see how small the Series S is. It is tiny. It makes me think it's going to be the size of a Wii console if any of you guys owned one of those.
Wow.
Because it looked tiny. It looked good. Like, you're going to be able to put it really wherever you want, on your home theater thing or I don't know, a shelf or a closet, whatever. I don't know if you have a gaming closet. I don't know why I just thought of that. But the Series X and the PS5 are both going to be able to output in 4K, and it's going to have 8K support in it. The Series S is only going to put out at 1440p and at 120 frames per second, which is still really good, but it just depends on what you have. Not a lot of people have 4K TVs now. They are getting cheaper, which is nice, but not a lot of people have 4K TVs. So you kind of have to determine what you want to do with your system. You can future-proof it and get the X or the PS5. Well, the PS5 is going to have 4K output no matter which one you get. But either way, if you're going for the Xbox side of things, you have to kind of choose what you want. If you want to future-proof it, you go with the Series X. If you're fine with not really doing 4K because you don't have a 4K TV, you'll go with the Series S. Now, as someone who's been gaming on a 1440p monitor with 100 plus frames per second, I can tell you it's a good enough jump to where it's good. It's good. I love it. It feels good. And not only that, both of the systems, I was watching another video, Digital Foundry put out their Xbox performance video. And even if you just get a Series S or Series X at launch with Game Pass and you play the backwards compatible games, you're going to see a huge jump in performance from some of these games. I was looking at some of the load times for some of these games. Outer Worlds loads in 6 seconds. My PC loads at maybe 12, if that. You know, and by the way, don't be coming into my Twitter and be like, oh, Xbox is better than your PC. Stop it. Don't be one of my junior high kids, okay? Don't do that. But like, some of the games just load ridiculously fast. They look really smooth. They're up-res quite a bit. Final Fantasy 13 looked even more awesome than what it did when it came out. Just wish it could fix the gameplay and the story to be better. But it's one of those things where, like, no matter which one you go with, you're going to get a powerful system. And that's kind of the nice thing about it. Now, one thing I do want to point out, because this is going to be a huge thing you need to consider if you're going to go digital, is the storage on these systems. The PlayStation 5 is going to have a custom 825 gigabyte SSD in it, which is fine. I wish it would have been one terabyte. But again, you're going to be able to expand the storage on both of these. Xbox Series X is going to come with a 1 terabyte. Series S is going to come with a 512 gigabyte. So you need to consider that. You know, you're still going to be able to download some games, but you're not going to be able to download as many as you want.
How about that external little flash card you can drive that's like $215?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. If you want to expand the storage on the Xbox, their proprietary external storage for SSD is $219. Now, what I did find in looking these up is that you don't necessarily need to get that to store your games on another hard drive or something like that. You can still use USB. I think both of them use USB 3.2, if I remember correctly from the spreadsheets I was looking at. But the problem with that is it's not going to take advantage of the speeds of that. So really, the external hard drive that you would connect in to get more storage is just to store the game on there. It's not really going to take advantage of the speed thing. So you're going to see a difference in load times with that as well. So it's just something you have to kind of gauge. Now, you might be someone who is going to be using Game Pass, and you're going to play like one game at a time. You know, you're not like me who's jumping between like 5 different games at one time and is going to use that quick resume feature like crazy on the Xbox that lets you put like 4 games into a specific save state. So it's just something you kind of have to gauge, because 512 gigs, let's be honest, is not a lot of storage anymore. Mm-hmm. And so you are probably going to need that expandable storage. So pretty soon your $299 console becomes way more than that. So it's something to consider when you're getting these consoles. PlayStation will have expandable storage too. I haven't seen anything about theirs. I don't know if it's proprietary or not to use that speed thing. I'm pretty sure it will, but I haven't really seen anything else beyond that. But Adam, what are your thoughts so far on pricing, storage, some of the hardware stuff I went over?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as personally concerned about the storage stuff. Again, I get that some people, and maybe I'll have a change of mind when it comes to Game Pass with the Series S, because I will have access to a ton of games. But if you're willing to, you don't need to have 50 games downloaded at once. Now, if there's some of the big ones, like again, you think of your Call of Duty,
I was about to say
Halo,
Call of Duty Warzone.
Some of those can be up to 100. So yeah, if you want to have all the big hitters like Assassin's Creed, you could probably have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Call of Duty, Halo, and 1 or 2 other if you want all the big ones. But if you're looking at most of the games on Game Pass, a lot of them are some smaller indie games that are 15, 20 gigs at most. Like I have a hard time believing that Ori is a 25 to 30 to 40 gig game. That's probably 10 to 15 gigs download. So if you're willing to manage it and think, okay, I can re-download this, and some of it is delayed gratification. It may be, okay, I want to turn this on and play it right now. Okay, maybe that size storage isn't right for you. But if I'm like, okay, I've got these games, I'm going to eventually soon going to want to play this one, I'm going to go ahead and start that download now. And then in a couple of days, I know it's going to be done for sure. Some of it takes a little bit of forethought. So I'm not as concerned about the storage, because I'm not usually one to play 5, 6, 7 games at a time. I'm usually playing 1 or 2 on a system, maybe at a time. So I'm willing to re-download that. So I'm not as concerned with the storage. But I think the price points all came in just about right. I think PlayStation getting the $399 digital is a big deal, because you're saying they kind of split the difference, and they've got that's the cheapest powerful option. And that's not to say that the S isn't a good option either, but if you're wanting all of the power, the 4K and everything, the digital is a step above the S, but the S is a great option too. There's just a lot of good options. Yeah. There's a lot of good options that are out there. And it's really good for people who are on a budget, or those who are fanboys like us, I'm getting the disc version on the PlayStation for sure, because I want that flexibility. But if I was a little bit more strapped for cash, I could get by with the digital one. Now that doesn't really help me in the long term with digital games, because you can find digital games on sale, but again, you're keeping it because you can't resell it. Right. So like a lot of my funding of the new system is going to be the selling of my PS4 Pro and the games that I have, which I wouldn't have if I had gone all digital. So,
right. I do want to also chime in here, because I just realized I didn't mention this on the Series S. It will upscale to 4K, right, but it doesn't run them natively. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's basically stretching out the pixels is what it is. So it's not going to look quite as sharp as what it would if it was running natively at 4K. And so plus you also miss out on the 8K support. So when we all eventually have 8K TV screens in our eyeballs or whatever it is that we're going to have them in, it won't be able to go up. It won't have 8K support is what it won't have. So you'll still be stuck with an up-resed 4K output. So thought that was worth mentioning. Figured some of the Xbox folks that listen on the show are probably going to point that out and be like, hey, you didn't bring it up. Not that they sound like that, but you get the idea. Now, one thing I did want to bring up too, because we kind of touched on this a little bit, was kind of the service package sort of thing, right? We've already talked about that with Xbox. Xbox is just, that's what their goal is services. But one of the other things that Xbox, the Series systems are going to be able to do is be fully backwards compatible with maybe not fully is the right word, but definitely backwards compatible with at least everything on Xbox One, because you're going to have that delivery, smart delivery thing that you got going on where some games are going to receive a up-resed update to take advantage of the power of the new systems. And you're going to have other games that will play on it, but just not get that power boost with the system. And then you also have the Xbox 360 backwards compatible library, which is, I don't know how many games deep that thing is now, and the OG Xbox. So you have all that right out of the gate inside Game Pass on the system. So your boy is looking forward to playing Lost Odyssey in 4K on his Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm probably going to see much of a difference because it's a 360 game, but you have that. And then PlayStation is, from last I've read, is going to be backwards compatible with 99% of the PlayStation 4 catalog. So if you're hoping to play Knack and Knack 2, sorry, it's not going to happen. I don't even know if it's Knack and Knack 2 that they're leaving out. I don't really know what game they couldn't get to play, but it was probably the first Knack, because why not crush my soul like that? Now, the cool thing.
Let me jump in there real quick, because I think the backwards compatibility thing, again, this kind of goes back to how they're approaching generations and stuff. Mm-hmm. This is where you see PlayStation again very much saying, now they're doing some of it, but they're still saying these are generations. We're not going to give you access to every video game that has ever been made for PlayStation on the PlayStation 5, because they're not approaching it that way. They're still saying that, no, you're buying a PlayStation 5 to play PlayStation 5 games. If you want to play PlayStation 3 games, you can find them for actually pretty cheap, or even PlayStation 2s. I mean, people are like using PlayStation 2s for like, paperweights. They're everywhere for dirt cheap. So it's like, now I get you don't want to pull out all those things, but if you're buying a system and it's not the main, it's definitely a bonus. So I get that but no one is buying a next gen system because I'm saying, hey, I want to play backwards compatible. It is a very nice perk, but it's not the main reason. We're still getting them for current next gen games or whatever. But Xbox offering those, backwards compatibility game is definitely a nice gesture. Like, even for me, as I think about getting the S versus the X, I'm like, man, it'd be nice to throw in like a college football or some of those old games. I don't have them. My nephew has them all. But when I go back and visit my nephew at Christmas, if I knew I was getting the X, I might be looking at some of my old 360 games and saying, okay, I'm taking this one back. I'm taking this one back, because it is a nice thing to have. It's just one of those things where you get in and dabble with it. And maybe this is a very privileged thing for me to say, because I maybe have more access to more games because of what we do, or just with the situation God's put us in. So maybe I'm saying some privileged stuff, but I just don't see that. That just goes back into the approach that they're both taking.
Right.
It plays into that with how they're approaching backwards compatibility.
Well, and also to add to that, I know people don't really like to hear about this because they think it's a vastly inferior service compared to Game Pass, but PlayStation does have PlayStation Now that does have a pretty large library of PlayStation 3 games and PS2 games.
Yeah.
And I believe PS4 games. And I was also even going to bring up how, let me finish up on PS Now and then I'll jump over to the PlayStation Plus collection thing that they're going to be throwing in. PS Now has definitely gotten better. I think Xavier brought this up in the group about how, it's a pretty good service. There's a lot of good games on it and things of that nature. But I think where it's going to set PlayStation and Xbox apart is that what Game Pass allows you to do is download those games, whereas on PS Now, you can download the PS2 and the PS4 games, but not the PS3. Again, I don't know what Sony did with the PS3 to make it as crazy difficult as it is for them to emulate these games and run them and things of that nature. But it's one of those things where I think that's probably where people are going to have some points of contention, is that not everybody has really good internet connection, especially here in the States. And your mileage may vary with that. The times that I've tried to stream games through PS Now, it ran good for the most part. I think I was playing Spec Ops: The Line. I think it like chugged in a few different parts, but it's definitely one of those things where I don't know what the word is. It's just the difference between the two that I think is going to stand out for people as well. But I think what we're going to see PlayStation start doing a little bit here is getting a little creative, like with their PlayStation Plus collection. That is an added bonus on top of your PlayStation Plus subscription each month that allows you to play games with people online is that on the PS5, it's going to have this collection of games, which I think there's like 8-10 games on something like that comes with it, and you get to play these as long as you have your PlayStation Plus subscription. And the games that are coming with it right out of the gate are Batman Arkham Knight, which is a great game, Battlefield 1, Bloodborne, also a great game, Days Gone, also really good, Detroit Become Human, depends on if you like story games, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, God of War, which is one that we that was our game of the year for it was our game of the year and our best of PlayStation game. Monster Hunter World, which is super good. Mortal Kombat 10, Persona 5, Ratchet and Clank, The Last Guardian, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4 Until Dawn, Resident Evil 7. You're not getting junk games in there. And that all comes with your PlayStation Plus subscription. And so as long as you're subscribed to that, that's what you get to play each month for free. And who knows, this may be PlayStation's start of a Game Pass-like competitor where they just add games in each month or they cycle games out, kind of like what they've been doing PS Now. You've seen them doing that and experimenting with that with PlayStation Now, where they put in some first-party games for a few months and they rotate them out and put some new ones in, or even third-party games. And Game Pass does this too, where they put games in for a couple of months and then they pull games out just to kind of keep the library fresh and I guess the different licensing deals and things of that nature. So who knows what this PlayStation Plus collection is going to be? It might shape up to be a Game Pass competitor. It might not. We just don't know, but it's there. And for those of us that are getting a PlayStation 5 right out of the gate and getting PlayStation Plus, you're getting all those games right there as part of your subscription to play. So you don't really have to spend a whole lot to get some good games to play on your system, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a great kind of additional thing that they didn't have to do for PlayStation people. I mean, if you say you buy one game at launch and you have PlayStation Plus and there's a handful of these games you haven't played, you could just play those games this year and you would play an amazing grouping of games. It's quite the selection of games there. I mean, it goes back to some of what we were talking about when we did the best of PlayStation. The PlayStation 4 generation had so many bangers, and they've basically given them all to you as a part of PlayStation Plus if you have it going into next gen. That is so legit. It's so nice. Now, again, it's not the however many games come with Game Pass, but you're getting the best that PlayStation has to offer with PlayStation Plus collection. It's tough to beat.
Definitely. But as always, dear listeners, you guys can let us know what you think about all this stuff. But speaking of games, dude, what games are even launching with these things? We already went over Demon's Souls, which blew my mind, threw me off guard, and now I'm like, what website got a stock of PS5s in? Because I would like to play that. So what are some of the games that we're going to be seeing coming out with these systems, either at launch or within a certain launch window of like 3 to 4, maybe 5 months after these systems are out?
Yeah, here's what we got. I'll go PlayStation and Xbox games that are launch games. Now, some of these are third party, so they'll be on both. But on PlayStation, you got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Astro's Playroom, which my understanding is that's going to be on every system. Kind of shows you how to, all the different perks of the new controller. Demon's Souls, Destruction, All Stars, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. It's going to be digital only. Fortnite, that's going to be on both. Godfall, that's PlayStation exclusive. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Observer System Redux, and then Sackboy: A Big Adventure, basically their Mario platformer.
Okay.
Which looks good. I probably won't get it right away. I'm probably going to give my main focus to Miles Morales at launch and then kind of go from there. But then on Xbox Series X, you got, again, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Bright Memory, Dirt 5, Devil May Cry 5, FIFA 21. If FIFA 21's on Xbox, that'll also be on PlayStation. I didn't mention that. Fortnite, Series X upgraded version of Gears 5, Gears Tactics, Marvel's Avengers, that'll also be on PlayStation upgraded. NBA 2K21 also on PlayStation 5. Observer, System Redux, also RPG Time, The Legend of Wright, Samurai Spirits. They're getting a Tetris Effect connected It's a bit like a multiplayer Tetris effect, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
The Falconeer, and then a couple cross-platform games, Watch Dogs Legion and Yakuza Like a Dragon. So those are the launch window games. Then you've got, or launch, like I think day and date. Then you've got a decent amount of games that are launch windows that we don't know. Like I don't want to go over all of them because there's a lot of them, but
Right.
there's like Bug Snacks. I'm just kind of looking at some of the Odd World,
Bug Snacks, Odd
World, Call of Duty. I'm just kind of see if there's any of these that really stick out that are worth mentioning. Those are some of the PlayStation ones. On Xbox, you've got 12 Minutes, Call of the Sea, Immortals Phoenix Rising. That'll also be on PlayStation. Which have you heard much of this game?
Yeah, it was. It used to be called like, what was it, Prey of the Gods or something like that, and then they changed the name. Or it used to be called something else, but then they changed the name recently to something that I think is way worse of a name. But it was on my radar. I was going to play it.
Everyone's calling it like Breath of the Wild, which I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down.
You
had me at Breath of the Wild. That's all I needed to know. They say it's almost ridiculous how much they copied it. So that's got me excited. I mean, that's on again both, but that's one that's listed on Xbox. You've all got Tunic, which I don't remember if you've seen that. It's like a little almost looks like a top-down Zelda clone. That looks a lot of fun, cute art style. The Medium. So there's definitely some other games, and of course you've got Cyberpunk is coming out launch window, but you won't be getting the upgraded versions of that game. We don't have a release date for that. You can play the PS4 or Xbox One version. We just don't know when they're going to get the PS5 or Xbox Series X version of that game.
Right. Cool. Sounds like a pretty standard launch window. I mean, you're going to have multi-platform games, a few first parties here and there, and
of those games, which ones what are some of the ones that you're looking forward to the most?
Definitely Spider-Man, because just give me more of that game and I will happily take it. I actually watched a little bit of I watched some of the intro or some of the gameplay they put out of the game a couple weeks ago. Just put it in my PlayStation.
Go watch Into the Spider-Verse and then play Miles Morales. It's
yes.
Get that soundtrack in the background. It's going to be sweet.
It's gonna be so good. So I mean, there's that. Demon Souls, obviously, because I hate myself and like to punish myself playing video games. And I didn't know they were doing a Gears 5 update thing. I'm playing through it right now on PC. I didn't really talk about it earlier because I'm literally like an hour in, so there's nothing to talk about. And I didn't mean that to come out as derogatory as it was. It's just like I don't have really anything to say. It's fun. It's Gears. It's what it is. Wouldn't mind playing that. Other than that, not much else. If we got a new Forza, maybe. But this is the year we're on a motorsport year, so Horizon would be next year. So yeah, I don't know. Those would mainly be my top three that I would probably go for: is Gears 5 update and Spider-Man and Demon Souls.
Yeah, if I'm looking at Xbox, I mean, I'm with you with Spider-Man. I might even try Demon Souls. We'll see how crazy I'm feeling. But I'm more excited about the older games on Game Pass that I never got to play, like Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Like those will probably be some of the first games I play on the Series S.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested in seeing how they continue to fix Marvel's Avengers. That's a game kind of like Days Gone. Eventually, I want to get to, but I want to play when it's fixed and it's running well. I'm not going to do the multiplayer. I just want to play the story mode,
right?
Because I hear it's pretty good, but it's also got a lot of issues. So that's another one that I'm also interested in checking out at some point. But yeah, those are probably some of the games I'm looking forward to at launch.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing to note as well, at least with Game Pass, like a lot of I think they've confirmed pretty much any first party game is going to come out on Game Pass day and date as released. Right. So another thing where it's like you don't got to stress out trying to get to the store, trying to download the latest game or something. If you have Game Pass, just try it out, which will be nice for those of us that are wanting to play Halo Infinite, because I can't wait for that. Like I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole and get on my soapbox about that game. No, I thought it was fine. One thing I do need to also bring up too, because I forgot to mention this earlier with hardware and things of that nature. If you have a PSVR system, headset, and all that stuff, it will work on the PS5. You will need a special adapter for it, but from everything I've read, Sony's not charging you for that adapter, so you're going to be able to use your current PSVR with the PS5, which is going to be, that's an awesome, awesome perk. Love that they're doing that. Because I'll take my PS4. I can't talk, man. I'm losing it. I will take my PSVR to my PS5 and maybe finish Iron Man VR on my PS5. We'll see how that goes. But other than that, man, we are at the like dawn of the next gen, dude. And like I said before, this is gonna be fun. A lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of cool things to see. But is there anything we maybe left out or anything we need to cover before we round this out?
No, I just think it's an awesome time to be in video games, to be enjoying them. Hopefully everybody, patience. I mean, these consoles are going to get out there. I think if you keep your eye, again, this is the perfect time. If you haven't done it yet for some reason, if you're not following our boy Wario64 on Twitter, you got to follow him. He gets things out there before anybody else does. So if you're looking for these things, make sure you're following him. But yeah, it's a great time. Keep the chatter clean in the TRG group. It's easy to get in the console wars, but again, like we said, I like giving Steven a hard time, and I wish I could have been on the last podcast to do that more, but life just didn't allow that to happen. But like I said, I'm getting an Xbox. I'm hopefully going to have a foot in both camps, along with the Nintendo camp also. So it's a fun time. I've never really, outside of like the 360 when it launched, I was like aware of what was going on, but I wasn't like I am today. Like this feels like my first system launch, because I was living overseas when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launched, so it didn't really apply to me. This feels like my first launch, like where I'm like in it. And so it's really exciting for me just to be kind of in the gaming world in many ways. And I mean, getting to talk about it on the podcast, this is a lot of fun to get to do it from a different perspective.
It's good, man. It's good. The last time, like the last console launch we had was when I ran my very first podcast. And I remember doing the coverage of that and getting into it. And man, it's good. It feels good to be back in this kind of atmosphere again, And especially as a PC gamer, you got the new RTX cards coming out. Man. It's a good time. It's a good time. By the way, dear listeners, we will talk about those cards once more information's out and people have gotten them and are playing them and using them. I think a few people in the group are going to be getting one if they can get one pre-ordered. And so we'll definitely cover that on the show at some point. But we just need to actually get our hands on a few of the cards and see how they perform. I'm thinking that's the thing with me, man. Now that I built my PC, it's like, do I get a new card? Do I get an Xbox? I already got the Xbox. So do I get a new card too? Do I get a PS5? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But it's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be a gamer. It's one of those things where, like, I know 2020 has been a really rough year and all the crap that has happened. People are probably hearing me say that what a time to be alive. I'm like, really, Logan? It seems a bit insensitive, but it's one of those things where you just got to enjoy the little things in life and just, it's like what Ecclesiastes says, drink, work, eat, be merry. Just enjoy the little things as best you can. Every breath is a gift. Even a little can of Dr. Pepper is a gift. Every little bit of news that we hear about these consoles is a gift as well. So hopefully this show has been a good breath of fresh air for you guys this year. And hopefully we can continue to provide that for you this year. But with that being said, this episode is coming to a close. But before we let you go, some recos.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
I know people don't like to hear us say recos, but we keep saying recos because recos is fun. What are some things the dear listeners should check out? Adam, what you got?
Yeah, nothing was really coming to mind as I was thinking about the episode before. But I mean, a couple of things I just talked about. I mean, check out Among Us if you got a group of friends, if you want to have a good time. Check out that book I mentioned. We went to the apple orchard. That was a good time this last week. Pick some apples. If you got those, do that. Don't go back and watch the debate, apparently, because Twitter says makes it seem like it was a real dumpster fire. I don't know, guys. like Logan said, enjoy the little things because everything around us is burning. Oh, what a crazy time to be alive.
It's like back in 2016 when I was joking with some friends about how we, after this election, it's going to be like Fallout, no matter which way we go. And now we're right back where we're at. But hey, we're still here. God's in control. Everything will be all right. Even though, that'll be one of, you know what? I had 2 recos on here. I'm going to add a third on here. I'll type it in after I'm done. So I've got 2 videos that I want you guys to check out. I've mentioned them earlier when I was doing research for this episode. Digital Foundry's Xbox Series X breakdown. Really cool, really fascinating. I think you guys will really enjoy seeing that. And then also check out Marques Brownlee's Xbox comparison between the Series X and the Series S. Again, it blows my mind how small the form factor of that Series S is. It's cool. Just check it out. See what he has to say. And if you're not following Marques Brownlee, I knew of him years ago, especially after the YouTube rewind when he was in there and Will Smith got his name wrong. And I've just started recently following his stuff ever since the Apple keynote thing from this year. And I'm like, this guy covers tech really, really well. So go check out Marques Brownlee on YouTube and follow him on Twitter too. His Twitter is pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. But now that I said Twitter, this is going to sound contradictory to what I'm about to say. Take a break from social media. Hot dog. I don't need to watch Social Dilemma on Netflix to know that social media messes with you. It just, I'm dead serious, guys. Something that I do every weekend is I take a break from social media. I try to stay off social media from really the time I get off work on Thursday at 5 p.m. and just stay off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and just detox and get away from it. I'll still check it from time to time, like hop on there and reply to Shadeless and mess with him a little bit, or reply to some other people on there and make a tweet or something. But I really am intentional about staying off of social media that entire weekend. And so I think if more people did that, I think we would find ourselves in a better headspace. And I think we would find ourselves a little less antagonistic towards others. And so, like I said, take a break from social media. Twitter isn't real life. It goes back to what I said a second ago. Enjoy life. Enjoy the little things. Every breath is a gift. Enjoy it, man. Live it up. Redeem that time, for the times are dark. So those are my recos for the week. As always, dear listeners, you guys can support us on Patreon if you'd like to get this stuff early and uncut. Over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. If you guys would like to come and talk about video games or theology with me on Twitch, twitch.tv/thetheologan every Friday and Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, check out the website, thereformedgamers.com. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your grandma, share it with people at Chick-fil-A like y'all have been doing, because apparently we broke 3,000 downloads last month, which blows my mind. I totally forgot to mention that at the top of the show. Thank you guys so much for the continued support, and really just, I don't know if you guys just recruited an army of grandmas to download our episodes last month or what, but thank you so much for that. That is mind-blowingly cool. But go check out the website to get some more resources for your nerdy Christian walk. You guys can see kind of some more deep dives into specific games that we don't have time to cover on the show, like Concrete Genie, which is what I did here recently. Some retrospectives if you're feeling nostalgic, or if you want to keep up with some news, we'll try to keep that updated up on the website as well. The website also has links to all of our socials, so you can follow us on Twitter, TRG Podcast. You can like our Facebook page. You can join the Facebook group. You can like us on Instagram. You can join our Discord server. Episodes will be on YouTube. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything else. I think that's it. But if I forgot something, it's on the website. So go check it out, thereformedgamers.com. Dear listeners, until next time, be a dear, keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/thereformedgamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are David Matthews, Colin Gregory, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a dear, and keep it locked here. Keep listening, We'll catch you later.